Beautiful. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another production from Port Jackson Securities. My name is Lachlan Callaghan from Fortem Wealth. I'm joined by John Rayment from Identitii. Hello, John. How are you going?
Lachlan, hi. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being on. Well, John, I have a few clients and a few investors ask me questions about Identitii all the time. Can you tell us a little bit more about Identitii and what it does, and more the market space that it solves?
Sure, and our ticker code is ID8, and we're a young regtech business headquartered in Sydney with customers in Hong Kong and the United States. And we solve the problem that most of the technology in the financial services industry around the world is not new, and more often than not, a collection of dozens and sometimes hundreds of different pieces of technology inside one bank. And we solve the problem that it's really difficult to look at all of your customer information in one spot, and therefore it's really difficult to report to regulators. So that's the problem that we solve.
Beautiful, beautiful. And how long have you been a part of Identitii for?
I have been with Identitii since January 2020. I came on board to help the founder and former CEO transition out of the CEO role. So I've been with them, sort of 15, 16 months.
That's good, that's good. And we understand that you're regulating through AUSTRAC reporting. What is AUSTRAC reporting really, and why is there opportunities for technology in that area?
I might, if it's okay, Lachlan, I'll just grab a slide and whack a slide up on the show. Can you see that? Can you let me know if you can see that?
That's perfect. Yep.
Yep. So let me answer that through the power of pictures. Really what we do at this company is we help the financial services industry report to AUSTRAC. And AUSTRAC is a government financial intelligence agency. It was set up in 1989, and they are set up by the government to monitor financial transactions right across the different financial services industries, to spot anti-money laundering, financial crime, tax evasion, welfare fraud, and even terrorism financing. And as a function of that, there are about 15,000 different regulated entities that need to report to them. And we solve a very specific requirement for businesses to report to AUSTRAC.
Yep. Beautiful. Okay. And so with your sort of AUSTRAC reporting, how many customers do you have at this point in time?
Actually, let me tell you just a little bit more about the reporting, and then I'll tell you about our customer set and where we're going with our customer set. AUSTRAC, of course, I think has become a household name even in sort of the last 12 months, because they're the regulator that fined Westpac $1.3 billion last year. And they're also the regulator that fined the Commonwealth Bank $700 million in 2018. So this is a very topical subject in the regulation in the regulation industry and financial services. And what was really interesting for us last year at the end of 2020 was Nicole Rose, who's AUSTRAC's CEO, came out, and we've just a snippet here on the page in the top right-hand corner. She's quoted in the Fin Review saying that the $2 billion that the industry has, or that the regulators handed down to the industry, has driven millions of dollars of investment into improving the quality of reporting that goes to the regulator. So I think that's really interesting for us, because that certainly gives you some indication as to what's driving investment and focus in the space. In terms of our customers, we're still very much an early stage business. We are helping HSBC here in Australia report to the regulator, and we're working on a number of other financial institutions here in Australia as well. And you'd be familiar with the fact that we also work with Mastercard. That's one of our other customers as well, and that's working on a slightly different use case for us, but it's still solving the same problem, that it's difficult to see all of your financial transaction information in one place.
Yeah, definitely. And we've seen that in recent news that you have. But you've also been granted patents with the US and Payble. Is that correct? Can you explain how that's helping your business at the moment?
Yeah, sure. Let me just flip through. I've got something that I think will help tell that story, and it's about our growth strategy. And I
Yep.
can tell you that. Just let me know if you can see that page up there. You
Beautiful.
got that? Yeah. So this talks to the 5 areas that we're focused on as a business, and you've asked us about the patent and about our Payble strategy as well. The 4th pillar of our strategy is to continue to innovate our technology, and a key component of that was the fact that the US Patent Office awarded us a patent for our technology earlier this year. We were granted that patent. We advised the market that we were granted that patent in December last year. And that patent was granted and given to us in April this year. So what that means for us is it's a wonderful opportunity for us to look at people who may be using our technology or our invention, which is the word that's used in the patent, and reach agreements with them with respect to whether or not we are the authorized owner of the idea and whether or not there are licenses and royalties due.
Right.
So the patent is a really interesting component of our strategy moving forward, and shareholders and prospective investors should expect from us to extract value out of that in the coming months and in the coming years. Of course, that's a significant project for us. You mentioned also Payble. Payble's a new subsidiary company for Identitii, and that there is listed under our monetize strategy, which is that's the 5th pillar of our strategy, which is to say there have been some other pieces of technology as a company that we have invested in over time, and opportunistically we've taken one of those pieces of technology and put it into a separate subsidiary company that we own 51% of, and we were lucky enough to receive investment from the Commonwealth Bank's X15 Ventures, which is their venture accelerator business. And as a function of that, we're now co-owners of that company with the Commonwealth Bank, and it means that we get access to all of the assets and the war chest, for want of a better term, customers, technology, relationships, and so on and so forth. And that's a slightly different business that solves a slightly different problem.
Definitely. And ladies and gentlemen watching online, if you want to send through a few questions, I am receiving a few right now. One that has just caught my eye at the moment is about market space and the competition. So as you said, your patent is meant to protect that, and maybe you can discuss more about that. But what's the sort of competition that you have currently in the market? And that's from Andrew. Thank you, Andrew.
It's a good question. We have 2 principal competitors, and our biggest competitor is the fact that financial institutions are already doing this work themselves. That is by far and away our largest competitor. So what we do as a company is we automate largely manual processes. So the way financial institutions report, for the most part, in Australia and all around the world, if we talk to global opportunity in a second, but the way this is done at the moment is still using lots of people, Microsoft Excel sheets, and emails to exchange and record information all around the world within a bank and with their counterparties. So that process is already happening, and we are proposing to automate and streamline that process to remove human error, lower cost, and improve quality. So our largest competitor is the bank already doing it themselves. There are a couple of really small businesses, one in New Zealand, but nobody's doing exactly what we're doing and automating the type of report type that we're reporting to the regulator in Australia. So we genuinely think that there is first mover advantage for us.
Okay, beautiful. And within that, you have a proprietary platform called Overlay Plus. What does it actually do for the bank and consumer?
Again, let me go back to a couple of the pages that I've got here, because I think that's a really neat way of explaining it to you. So, and again, just let me confirm that you can see the screen, Lachlan.
Yep, just popping up soon. Sorry about that. There we go. Perfect. Off you go.
Okay, so yeah, our core platform is called Overlay Plus, and as the name suggests, it sits over the top of a range of different systems in the bank and really does 4 things. And those 4 things are, and I'll take you through them now. What our core platform does is, as you can see there, it's scalable, it's cloud hosted. We've also been certified by the International Standards Organization for our data management quality. information security standards, which is important when you're ingesting payment information from a bank. But the first thing our platform does is it collects payment data from multiple different systems within a bank. Payment information sits in payment systems, customer systems, reporting systems, operational systems. And as I mentioned to you, that's really difficult for a bank to get a single view of all of their transactions. So our platform sits in the cloud. And it can sit in a bank's cloud or our private cloud, and we are cloud agnostic. So we've got instances in Azure, Microsoft Azure, Amazon AWS, and Google. But we collect multiple pieces of information from different spots, and the first thing we do is we create a single view of all of that transaction level information in one place, and provide a dashboard view, which is really quite powerful for a financial institution. And once you have all of your information in one place and you have a single view of it, it's very easy to spot errors in the data. And we've built a piece of technology that automates the retrieval of missing information, and automates the automatic requests for information from the other end of that payment transaction to complete the data. Because then once you have your payment data in one place, and once it's complete, you can then accurately report to the regulator. And this is the process that's broken in most of the financial services industry. The information sits in multiple different systems. It is sometimes complete, often incomplete, and then knowing what does and doesn't go to the regulator becomes very complicated. So that's a sort of a high-level architecture view of what our platform does.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. And are you just focused on AUSTRAC, which is Australia-based, or is there also international opportunities where Identitii can be adapted to?
Thanks for that's a great question. Most definitely there is global application for this technology. At the moment, we are helping Australian financial services businesses, mostly banks, report to AUSTRAC. But there are already opportunities emerging for us, and we're in some really interesting conversations with banks in New Zealand to report to their regulator, the FIU. There is similar opportunity for us to report. There's a similar reporting regime or regulatory regime in Canada, and there's quite a large total addressable market in Canada. And there's also a significant amount of opportunity for us in the United Kingdom to help banks report to their regulator, the FCA. And that's why we've recently announced that we employed our Chief Commercial Officer to look after everything relating to customers. And we placed that person in London. Of course, he's the former global head of payments at Investec Bank. So we've hired an industry veteran to help us deal with the banks in arguably the home of banking all around the world, which is the United Kingdom.
Yeah. Well, we might go to a few questions here from the audience.
Sure.
The first one we have is from Alex. He asks, can technology be applied to reporting foreign markets, to the foreign AML regulators? I think we may have just touched on that just before. Sorry about that, Alex. I didn't read it out sooner. But if you want to maybe dive a little bit deeper, is it, as you said, we're talking about those international markets. What's the scope and what's the largest market internationally that you're currently going for?
It all depends on. We're not just looking for large total addressable markets. We're looking for markets. So we've segmented the globe and looking for opportunities that have very similar reporting or similar AML regimes as Australia does. That will allow us to scale the technology very quickly into other global markets and to establish a footprint from which we can grow a strong revenue base and start to look at other neighbouring opportunities. But I mentioned the big three markets that we're looking at the moment. They are the United Kingdom, Canada, and New Zealand. Beautiful.
Now we do have quite a large question here from Resmi. He's been an investor for a few months now. It seems you're marketing your business more to the investors than the prospective customers, while you're attracting investors for at least new investors. How is your current cash book looking, and how are you going to be advertising that to future investors to get more coverage on the company?
Let me answer that in two ways. I think the first part of that question was a comment with respect to the fact that we market well to investors, but potentially by association, we don't market well to prospective clients. I think we have a very strong prospective client marketing campaign. We use very, very targeted campaign-driven activity that talks to a very specific type of individual within a financial services business. So it would be easy for the common person to miss the fact that we are marketing our technology to risk compliance and risk leaders, money laundering risk officers, chief risk officers in financial services businesses. But we're attending a lot of conferences, and actually there's another slide here that I'll bring up to help me answer the question, which is, and let me know, Lachlan, when you can see that one. Let me know when you can see that, mate.
Yeah, sorry, it's just a little bit slow.
No, that's okay, no problem.
It's technology. You just gotta love it. Sometimes it goes with you, sometimes it doesn't. But
that's okay, no problem. Yeah. So I guess the other way, the first thing I would say to answer that is, mate, let me know if the screen comes up. If not, I can talk to it anyway. But we, over the last 6 to 12 months, we've won a number of different industry competitions, which place us right in the middle of our target buying audience. The most recent one was we were named in Deloitte's Asia Pacific Technology Fast 500 list. So we were named in the top 500 technology companies in Asia Pacific by Deloitte. We were ranked at number 137. Last year, we won a pitch competition at the world's largest banking conference. There were 22,000 attendees. Of course, it was virtual because of COVID-19. We won another pitch competition with Citibank. And there are a number of other examples like that. So just to the question around our marketing, to whom we market, we have we recognise that a broad brush, what they would call above the line marketing, so a very broad approach to branding, doesn't work for us, but a very targeted below the line approach to the specific people that are interested in buying our technology. We have quite an active campaign there. I think the second part of the question was in relation to our cash burn. Is that right from memory?
Yes.
If I would just call out our 4C that we just released to the market at the end of April, of course, that quoted that we have $5.4 million in the bank at the end of the quarter, and that on run rate we have 3.6 months of cash, so just under a year, 11 months of cash before we will be, before we'll need to sort that out. So that's consistent with the way we're running the business. And I think that we have enough capital to see us into the middle of 2022.
I think that answers also Cecilia's question about the current cash flow. But we have one from Ron. Ron's asking about the share price at the moment and where you expect it to go and how it's actually traveling at this point in time.
Yeah, look, I mean, the fintech industry as a whole copped a bit of a beating towards the end of last week. Our share price has remained fairly stagnant around sort of 14-15 cents now for a couple of months, notwithstanding what happened to us and what happened to the industry or the segment as a whole towards the end of last week. I would answer that question two ways. First of all, I'm not focused on the share price. I'm focused as a CEO on growing customers and revenue, and hopefully can display to the market that good demonstration of good traction against our strategy and growing good repeatable revenue for the business will ultimately lead to share price growth. But certainly our primary focus is customers and revenue. And the other way I would answer that would be to say, it's publicly available information about my long-term incentive, which hopefully aligns investors with what's important to me. And my long-term incentive starts to pay out when the share price hits 46 cents, and then at $5 and $10 million annual recurring revenue, which sort of starts to edge the business towards, a share price that's measured in dollars rather than cents. So that's what gets me out of bed every morning.
Beautiful. We have one final question, and this will be our final question. We see a lot of growth in the company. We see a lot of acquisitions as well. Where are we seeing the natural growth coming from? And this is from Cecilia.
Where do we see natural growth coming from? Over the past, the company's been listed since the end of 2018 and has been around, in fact, since 2000 for many years, but a number of years before that. I think the growth certainly for the next 12 to 24 months, and again, this is a page from our half-yearly investor webinar or our half-yearly report, and the pack that we put together to support the webinar. But investors can expect us to onboard. We're looking to deliver at least a dozen new banks and new brands, and helping them report to AUSTRAC and the New Zealand regulator. So I think that's where the growth comes for us as a company, focusing on that public discussion of AUSTRAC and enforcement, which is really forcing or really driving investment and interest in our space.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, that was our final question. That is awesome. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you, John, once again for joining us on our webinar today. I'd like to also thank you, Port Jackson Securities, for having us, and just thank you for all the questions as well. So thank you for your time, John, and hopefully we see some happy investors. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me. I'll send out an email just regarding that, and I'll pass it on to John if there's any further questions. But thank you very much for having us, John, and thank you for being.
Thanks for your time, mate. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, will do. Everyone have a lovely day, and we'll catch you next time. Thank you very much.